The Galactic Misunderstanding. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless civilizations had risen and fallen, humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage was met with a mixture of curiosity and dismissal. The year was 2157, and Earth had just been invited to join the Galactic Confederation, a loose alliance of spacefaring species dedicated to mutual cooperation and scientific advancement. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood before the Confederation Council, her heart racing beneath her carefully composed exterior. The eyes of 100 alien species were upon her, appendages of all shapes twitching in anticipation. This was humanity's moment to introduce itself to the cosmos. Esteemed members of the Galactic Confederation, Elena began, her voice steadied despite her nerves. On behalf of Earth and all of humanity, we are honored to be considered for membership in your esteemed alliance. We come in peace, eager to learn and contribute to the greater good of all sentient life. A low murmur rippled through the assembly. The Zorn representative, a towering insectoid creature, clicked its mandibles before speaking. We have observed your kind for many cycles, Ambassador. Your species seems remarkably placid. Our records show no significant conflicts on your world for over a century. How do you defend yourselves from external threats? Elena smiled softly. We believe in diplomacy and mutual understanding, honored Zorn. Earth has been unified under a single government for generations. We've channeled our resources into science, exploration, and the betterment of our planet. The Volrix delegate, a gelatinous being pulsing with bioluminescent patterns, oozed forward. Fascinating. And what of your military capabilities? Surely you maintain some form of defense force. We maintain a small peacekeeping fleet, Elena replied carefully. But its primary purpose is for rescue operations and scientific missions. We haven't seen the need for extensive military buildup. The council chambers erupted in a cacophony of alien voices. Some expressed admiration for humanity's perceived enlightenment, while others scoffed at their naivety. The Drekthar, a race of silicon-based life forms known for their strategic minds, raised their crystalline structures in a gesture of skepticism. You mean to tell us, the Drekthar delegate's thoughts reverberated through the chamber, that your species has achieved interstellar travel without developing significant weapons technology? This defies all known patterns of civilization development. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been dreading and preparing for. Our history, like many of yours, I'm sure, has been marked by conflict. But we learned from our mistakes. We chose a different path. What Elena couldn't reveal was the full truth behind humanity's apparent pacifism. Back on Earth, in bunkers deep beneath the surface, and in orbital stations hidden from prying eyes, the real story of human advancement was carefully guarded. The unification of Earth hadn't come easily. It had taken a near-apocalyptic war, one that had pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. From the ashes of that conflict, a new philosophy had emerged, one of outward peace and inward strength. The leaders of the post-war world had made a pact. Never again would humans fight amongst themselves, and never again would they be vulnerable to external threats. For a century, Earth had poured its resources into secret military research and development. Weapons beyond the imagination of most species were hidden away, waiting for a day they hoped would never come. Entire cities had been built underground, capable of sustaining the human population for generations if needed. The small peacekeeping fleet Elena had mentioned was merely a facade. The true Earth Defense Force was comprised of ships that could outmaneuver and outgun anything the Confederation had ever seen. But none of this could be revealed. Humanity had learned the hard way that showing strength often invited challenge. Their strategy was one of perceived weakness, to be overlooked, underestimated, and left alone to grow stronger in secret. As the council debated, Elena maintained her diplomatic smile. She caught the eye of Captain David Chin, disguised as a simple aide, but in reality one of Earth's most decorated military strategists. He gave her an almost imperceptible nod. Everything was going according to plan. The Arkan Empress, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell, raised a glowing tendril for silence. "We have heard much about the human's peaceful nature," her melodious voice echoed. "But tell us, Ambassador Rodriguez, what does your species contribute to the galactic community? Surely you must excel in some field to have achieved interstellar travel." Alina's eyes lit up. This was her opening. "Indeed, Your Radiance, while we may not boast of military might, humanity has made great strides in medicine, environmental restoration, and sustainable energy production. Our scientists have developed techniques to terraform barren worlds. Our doctors can cure diseases once thought terminal, and our engineers have created energy sources that could power entire star systems without harmful emissions." The chamber buzzed with renewed interest. Several delegates leaned forward, their attention captured by the promise of such advancements. "Furthermore," Alina continued, gaining confidence, "we have extensive experience in mediating conflicts and finding peaceful resolutions to complex disputes. Our diplomats are trained in hundreds of alien languages and cultural norms. We believe these skills could be of great value to the Confederation." As Alina spoke, she felt a subtle vibration from the communicator hidden beneath her sleeve. It was a message from Earth Command. "Proceed as planned. Observation satellites deployed. Defense grid online." The human delegation spent the next several hours fielding questions from curious alien races. They spoke of Earth's lush forests and gleaming cities, carefully omitting any mention of the vast underground complexes or the orbital defense platforms disguised as communication satellites. They shared stories of human creativity and resilience, all while the most advanced AI systems ever created by human hands silently analyzed every piece of data they could gather on the alien species present. As the council session drew to a close, the Archon Empress addressed the assembly once more. "We have heard much today about these humans and their world. While some may question the wisdom of admitting a species seemingly so unprepared for the dangers of our galaxy, I am intrigued by their potential. Perhaps there is more to strength than weapons and warships. I propose we grant Earth provisional membership in the Confederation, with a probationary period of 1 galactic cycle." The vote was taken, and with a narrow margin, humanity was accepted into the Galactic Confederation. As Alina and her team left the council chambers, congratulating each other on their successful presentation, Captain Chen fell into step beside her. "Well played, Ambassador," he murmured. "They suspect nothing." Alina's diplomatic mask slipped for just a moment, revealing a hint of the steel beneath. "Not a thing, Captain. Earth remains humanity's best-kept secret, and its ultimate defense." As their ship prepared to return to Earth, carrying with it a wealth of new information about their galactic neighbors, Alina gazed out at the star-filled void. She thought of the billions of humans back home, going about their lives, blissfully unaware of how close they had come to cosmic irrelevance or destruction. Humanity had chosen a dangerous path, walking a razor's edge between peace and preparedness. But as the first human to stand before the Galactic Confederation, Alina was more convinced than ever that it was the right choice. Let the galaxy think them weak, naive, and unprepared. When the time came, if it ever did, they would be ready. The silent guardians of Earth had taken their first step onto the galactic stage. The real test was yet to come. The brewing storm. 5 years had passed since Earth's admission into the Galactic Confederation. Humanity had settled into its role as the galaxy's diplomat and healer, with human-led peacekeeping missions becoming a common sight in disputed sectors. Earth's medical technology had saved countless alien lives, and human environmental engineers were transforming polluted worlds into thriving ecosystems. But beneath the surface of this galactic golden age, a storm was brewing. Admiral Sarah Chen, sister of Captain David Chen, stood before a holographic display in the heart of Earth's hidden command center, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The room hummed with activity as analysts and strategists monitored incoming data from across the galaxy. "Report," Sarah commanded, her eyes fixed on a pulsing red dot at the edge of known space. A young lieutenant stepped forward, his face grim. "Admiral, we've detected another attack by the cracks. This time, they've completely obliterated a Volrix colony in the Omega sector. No survivors." Sarah's jaw tightened. The cracks were a newly discovered species from beyond the galactic rim, and they were unlike anything the Confederation had ever encountered. Ruthless, technologically advanced, and driven by an insatiable hunger for resources, they had been raiding outer colonies for months. "What's the Confederation's response?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. "The usual, Mum." The lieutenant replied with a hint of disgust. "Strongly worded condemnations, threats of economic sanctions. The Zorn have deployed a defensive fleet to their border worlds, but they're no match for the cracks," Sarah finished. She zoomed in on the area of the latest attack, her mind racing through potential scenarios. "And what of our friends in the diplomatic corps?" The lieutenant's expression softened slightly. "Ambassador Rodriguez continues to push for a unified response, but she's meeting resistance. Many races still believe negotiation is possible." Sarah allowed herself a small, bitter laugh. Negotiation, with a species that communicates through destruction. She straightened, addressing the entire room. "Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the time we've been preparing for is almost upon us. Initiate Protocol Omega." A hushed silence fell over the command center, broken only by the soft beep of computers acknowledging the order. Protocol Omega was the culmination of a century of preparation, the full activation of Earth's hidden defenses, and the mobilization of its secret fleet. Thousands of kilometers above, in the vacuum of space, satellites that had masqueraded as communications relays began to unfold, revealing state-of-the-art weapon systems. Deep within asteroid belts and the atmospheres of gas giants, cloaked shipyards rumbled to life, preparing to launch vessels that would redefine the nature of space combat. Back on Earth's surface, in the Council of Nations chamber in Geneva, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez was fighting a battle of her own. The holographic faces of Earth's leaders surrounded her, their expressions a mix of concern and resolve. "Madam Ambassador," the President of the African Union spoke, her voice steady but strained. "Your reports on the cracks threat are disturbing. Are you certain the Confederation cannot mount an effective defense?" Elena nodded solemnly. "I've reviewed their military capabilities myself. The Confederation races have grown complacent. Their weapons are designed for small-scale conflicts and planetary defense, nothing that can stand against the cracks fleet. And you believe it's time to reveal our true capabilities." This from the premier of the Asian coalition, his holographic form leaning forward intently. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change the course of human history again. "I do. The cracks are moving faster than we anticipated. If we don't act soon, there may not be a confederation left to save." The Secretary General of the United Nations raised a hand for attention. "We've hidden our strength for over a century, maintained the illusion of vulnerability to avoid becoming a target. If we reveal ourselves now, we risk becoming the focus of the cracks' aggression, or worse, being seen as a threat by the very allies we seek to protect." Elena's reply was cut off by an urgent beep from her communicator. "Excuse me," she said, checking the message. Her face paled. "We may not have a choice anymore. The cracks have just attacked a human research outpost in the Ta City system." The council erupted in a flurry of exclamations and demands for action. The Secretary General's voice cut through the chaos. "Casualties?" "Unknown," Elena replied, her hands shaking slightly as she read through the incoming data. The outpost managed to send a distress signal before communications were cut off. It was a small facility, officially conducting atmospheric studies on Ta City. Unofficially, a forward-listening post, the European Federation President finished, monitoring cracks movements. Elena nodded. "This attack crosses a line. It's a direct provocation against Earth. We can no longer stand idle." The Secretary General's hologram stood, his decision evident in his posture. Ambassador Rodriguez, you have the full authority of the Council of Nations. Reveal our true nature to the Confederation and extend our offer of alliance against the Crack's threat. Admiral Chen. A new hologram flickered to life. Sarah Chen, her military uniform, a stark contrast to the civilian attire of the council members. Madam Secretary General, initiate deployment of the Earth Defense Force. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. As the council session ended and the holograms winked out, Alina found herself alone in the chamber, the weight of humanity's future heavy on her shoulders. She reached for her communicator, composing a message to the Galactic Confederation Council. Esteemed members of the Confederation, an urgent matter requires our immediate attention. Humanity stands ready to share critical information and resources in the face of the growing Crack's threat. Emergency session requested. The future of our galaxy hangs in the balance. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden facilities burst into action. Soldiers who had trained in secret for generations donned advanced combat suits. Engineers made final adjustments to ships that defied the known laws of physics. And in laboratories across the planet, scientists prepared to unveil technologies that would reshape the understanding of the possible. Humanity had worn the mask of peace for a century. Now, as the storm of war loomed on the horizon, they prepared to show the galaxy the steel beneath the silk. The silent guardians were silent no more. In the depths of space, undetected by Confederation sensors, a cracked scout ship intercepted Alina's transmission to the Council. In the ship's command center, a beam of writhing tentacles and glowing bioluminescent patches analyzed the message. It reached out with a tendril, activating a communication channel to the Crack's homeworld. The message it sent was simple. Unexpected variable detected. Species, human. Threat level, calculating. Recommendation, accelerate invasion timeline. As Alina prepared to address the Galactic Confederation, as Earth's hidden fleets moved into position, and as the Cracks turned their hateful gaze towards humanity, the true test of centuries of preparation was about to begin. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had been so careful to avoid war, and what happened when they were finally provoked into one. The unveiling of human potential. The Galactic Confederation Council chamber was in an uproar. Delegates from 100 worlds shouted over each other, demanded explanations, and called for immediate action. At the center of the storm stood Ambassador Alina Rodriguez, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around her. Order. We will have order. The Arcan Empress's voice cut through the din, her energy form pulsing with barely contained frustration. As the chamber quieted, she turned her attention to Alina. Ambassador Rodriguez, you claim to have vital information about the Crack's threat. Yet you also speak of hidden human capabilities. Explain yourself. Alina took a deep breath, knowing that her next words would irrevocably change humanity's place in the galaxy. Esteemed members of the Confederation, for the past century, Earth has maintained a carefully crafted illusion. We presented ourselves as a peaceful, technologically limited species to avoid becoming a target. The truth is far different. She activated a holographic display, showing the full extent of Earth's defense network. Cloaked battle stations, fleets of advanced warships, and weapon systems beyond anything the Confederation had imagined filled the air above her. Humanity has never been defenseless. Alina continued, her voice steady. We've spent generations preparing for a threat like the Cracks, and now we offer our full military might to stand alongside the Confederation in defense of our galaxy. The chamber erupted once more, but this time the shouts were a mix of awe, fear, and accusation. The Zorn representative clicked his mandibles furiously. You deceived us all. How can we trust anything you say now? Alina stood her ground. We did what was necessary to protect our people and to avoid the very conflict we now face. But the Cracks leave us no choice. They've attacked a human outpost, and our intelligence suggests they're planning a full-scale invasion of Confederation space. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The central holodisplay shifted, showing a massive Krax fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel on the edge of a heavily populated sector. The Volrix delegate oozed forward, its bioluminescent patterns flashing in distress. It's the Arcturus system. Billions of lives are at risk. Elena's communicator buzzed. She glanced at it, then looked up at the council. The Earth Defense Force is deploying as we speak. We request permission to engage the Krax fleet and defend Arcturus. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then the Arcan Empress spoke, her voice heavy with the weight of his order was cut short as proximity alarms screamed to life. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear as hundreds of ships suddenly appeared between the Krax fleet and Arcturus. The Earth Defense Force had arrived. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF flagship, Humanity's Hope. Around her, crew members worked with practiced efficiency, their training finally put to the ultimate test. All ships, Battle Formation Delta, Sarah commanded. Activate Omega-class shields and ready phase cannons. Let's show these squids what humanity can do. The human fleet moved with a precision that belied its size. Ships that seemed to bend light around them took up defensive positions. Others began launching swarms of drones that defied traditional sensors. On the world render, Zaxkra's compound eyes widened in shock. Impossible. The humans are a weak, primitive species. This must be a trick. But as the first salvos were exchanged, it quickly became clear that this was no illusion. Human phase cannons punched through Krax shields as if they weren't there. Omega-class shields shrugged off energy beams that could vaporize small moons. Sarah's voice crackled over the fleet-wide comm. Remember your training. We've prepared for this moment for generations. Humanity stands as the shield of the galaxy. Now let's show them our sword. The battle that unfolded over Arcturus would be spoken of for millennia to come. Human ships danced through space with impossible agility, their advanced AI pilots outmaneuvering the Krax at every turn. Weapons thought to be theoretical by the rest of the galaxy tore through the invaders' fleet. On a Confederation observation post at the edge of the system, alien observers watched in awe and terror. The Drekthar analyst turned to his Zorn colleague, his crystalline structure vibrating with emotion. By the cosmic core, what are we witnessing? The Zorn's mandibles clacked softly, the unveiling of humanity's true nature, and perhaps the salvation of us all. Back on the world render, Zaxkra was in a frenzy. Half his fleet was in ruins, and the human showed no signs of slowing down. Bring the planet killer online, he roared. We'll reduce this system to atoms. As the world render's main weapon began to charge, a single human ship broke from the main fleet. It was smaller than the others, sleek and black, almost invisible against the backdrop of space. Aboard this ship, the Shadow Strike, Captain David Chen gripped his command chair. All power to the Void engine, he ordered. Prepare for dimensional shift. The Shadow Strike seemed to flicker and distort, as if reality itself couldn't quite grasp it. Then, in a maneuver that defied the laws of physics as understood by the rest of the galaxy, it simply disappeared. Seconds later, it remerged inside the world render's shields, right next to the charging planet killer. David's voice was calm as he gave his final order. Deploy the Singularity Bomb. May our ancestors forgive us for creating such a weapon. The Shadow Strike vanished again, reappearing a safe distance away. In its wake, a miniature black hole blossomed within the world render. Zaxkra had just enough time to realize the full extent of his mistake before his flagship, along with a significant portion of his remaining fleet, was torn apart and consumed by the voracious gravitational anomaly. As quickly as it had formed, the black hole collapsed in on itself, leaving nothing but scattered debris where the pride of the Krax fleet had once been. Silence fell across the battlefield. The remaining Krax ships, leaderless and outmatched, began to retreat. On the Humanity's Hope, Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile. Stand down from general quarters, she ordered, and send word to Earth. The Arcturus system is secured. As the human fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and assessing the damage, messages flooded in from across the galaxy. The Confederation Council, watching the battle unfold in real time, was unanimous in its response. Humanity had saved them all. But amid the celebration and relief, questions began to surface. How had humans developed such advanced technology in secret? What other surprises did Earth have in store? And now that the galaxy had seen humanity's true strength, how would it change the balance of power? As debris from the battle drifted through space, and the people of Arcturus emerged from their shelters to see their saviors, one thing was certain. The age of human obscurity was over. For better or worse, the silent guardians had roared their defiance to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same. The turning tide. In the weeks following the Battle of Arcturus, the galaxy was abuzz with activity. The Crack's threat, while not eliminated, had been pushed back to the fringes of known space. Humanity, once seen as a quaint newcomer to galactic affairs, now stood at the forefront of the Confederation's military and political landscape. On Earth, in the sprawling underground complex that served as the headquarters for the Earth Defense Force, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated known Crack's positions, while blue showed Confederation assets. A new color, green, represented human fleets and installations, now openly deployed across strategic locations. The Cracks are regrouping faster than we anticipated, Sarah noted, addressing a room full of military and political leaders from Earth and key Confederation allies. They're adaptive, I'll give them that. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, recently appointed as Earth's representative to the new Joint Galactic Defense Council, stepped forward. The Confederation races are still in shock, both from the Crack's attacks and our revelation. We need to move quickly to solidify our position and establish a unified defense strategy. The Arkan Empress, present via hologram, chimed in. Agreed. The Confederation Council has voted to appoint Admiral Chen as Supreme Commander of our combined forces. The galaxy looks to Earth for leadership in this crisis. Sarah nodded, her expression grave. I accept the responsibility. Our first priority must be to secure key systems and establish an early warning network. The Cracks won't stay quiet for long. As the meeting progressed, strategies were debated and plans were formed. Human technology would be gradually shared with trusted allies, enhancing the overall defensive capabilities of the Confederation. Joint training exercises were scheduled to integrate the various species' fighting styles and strengths. But not everyone was comfortable with humanity's new role. In a quiet corner of the room, a Zorn general chittered nervously to a Volrix diplomat. They hid their true nature for so long. How do we know they won't turn on us once the Cracks are defeated? The Volrix pulsed thoughtfully. We don't. But right now, they're our best hope for survival. We must trust in the path of cooperation. Months passed, and the galaxy settled into an uneasy peace. Human ships, now openly displaying their advanced technology, patrolled the borders of Confederation space. Research teams from various races worked together, combining their knowledge to create new defenses against Crack's weaponry. On a space station orbiting a gas giant in a formerly contested system, Captain David Chen supervised a joint training exercise. Ships from a dozen different species maneuvered in complex formations, their crews learning to work together in ways they never had before. Impressive, a voice said from behind him. David turned to see Zexera, a Crack's defector who had sought asylum with the Confederation after the Battle of Arcturus. The tentacle being's bioluminescent patches pulsed with what David had learned to recognize as admiration. Your species continues to surprise me, Zexera continued. The way you've united these disparate races, teaching them to fight as one. It's unprecedented. David allowed himself a small smile. Humanity has a long history of coming together in the face of external threats. We're just applying those lessons on a galactic scale. Zexera's eyes narrowed. And yet, you prepared for war in secret for so long. How do you reconcile your apparent love of peace with such militant preparation? An old human saying comes to mind. David replied. Si vis pacem, parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. We hoped we'd never have to use our weapons, but we weren't naive enough to think we'd never need them. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. David's comm unit buzzed to life, displaying a message that made his blood run cold. This is not a drill. Multiple cracks incursions detected across 3 sectors, all forces to battle stations. As klaxons blared throughout the station, David turned to Zexera. Looks like your former friends are making their move. Are you ready to make good on your promise to help us? The crack's defector's tentacles writhed with determination. I've seen the evil my species is capable of, and I've witnessed the potential for good in this confederation. I stand with you, Captain. Together, they raced to the command center. The galaxy-wide holographic display was alight with activity. Crack's forces had launched a coordinated attack on multiple fronts, targeting key shipyards, resource-rich planets, and strategic choke points. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice came through on the primary channel. This is Supreme Commander Chen to all Confederation forces. The cracks have initiated what appears to be a full-scale invasion. Enact Protocol Umbra. I repeat, enact Protocol Umbra. David felt a surge of both pride and apprehension. Protocol Umbra was a contingency plan developed by human strategists, incorporating the strengths of all Confederation races into a flexible, multi-layered defense strategy. It had been theorized, war-gamed, and refined, but never tested in actual combat. As the combined fleets of the Confederation moved into action, guided by human coordination and enhanced by Earth's technology, the true test of galactic cooperation was about to begin. The Crack's attack was ferocious. Their ships, now equipped with countermeasures against some of the tactics used at Arcturus, pressed forward with savage determination. But they found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Zorn hive ships released swarms of fighters that moved with uncanny coordination, their movements guided by human eye. Volrix vessels, their hulls now reinforced with Earth's advanced materials, absorbed incredible amounts of damage while continuing to fight. And at the heart of each battle group, human ships unleashed weaponry that continued to defy the expectations of friend and foe alike. On a mineral-rich planet at the edge of Confederation space, a Crack's landing force found itself opposed by a mixed unit of ground troops. Human Marines fought alongside Drekthar crystal-form warriors and Arcan energy beings, their tactics blending into a seamless and lethal whole. In the skies above, David Chen's task force engaged a Crack's battle group attempting to establish orbital superiority. The Shadow Strike danced through enemy formations, its void engine allowing it to appear and disappear at will, sowing chaos and destruction. All ships, execute Maneuver Theta 9, David commanded. It was a complex series of movements that required perfect timing and trust between the various species vessels. As he watched the maneuver unfold flawlessly, he felt a swell of emotion. This was what humanity had been preparing for all along, not just to fight, but to lead, to unite, to bring out the best in their galactic neighbors. The battle raged for days, stretching across multiple star systems. But slowly, inevitably, the tide began to turn. The Cracks, for all their ferocity and adaptability, found themselves outmatched by the combined might and ingenuity of the Confederation forces. As the last major Cracks fleet was routed from Confederation space, a message was broadcast across all frequencies. It came from the Shadow Strike, where David Chen stood with Zexera by his side. To all Cracks forces, David began, his voice firm but not unkind. You have been defeated. Your invasion has failed. But it doesn't have to end in your extinction. We offer you a choice. Continue this hopeless war or join us. The Confederation has room for all species willing to live in peace and contribute to the greater good. The decision is yours. There was silence across the comms. Then, one by one, Crack's ships began to power down their weapons. It wasn't a complete surrender. Many chose to flee back to unknown space. But it was a start. As the dust settled on the greatest conflict the galaxy had seen in millennia, the full impact of humanity's influence began to be felt. The species of the Confederation, once divided and often at odds, had come together in ways previously unimaginable. And at the center of it all stood the humans, the silent guardians who had stepped out of the shadows to guide the galaxy towards a new era of cooperation and strength. But as celebration erupted across 1,000 worlds, questions still lingered. What other secrets did humanity hold? How would this new balance of power shape the future of galactic politics? And somewhere out in the vast unknown of space, were there threats even greater than the cracks, waiting to test this fledgling alliance? The silent guardians had found their voice, but their greatest challenges and triumphs might still lie ahead. The new galactic order. A year had passed since the cracks invasion was repelled, and the face of the galaxy had changed dramatically. The Galactic Confederation, once a loose alliance of often bickering species, had evolved into a tightly knit cooperative under humanity's guidance. Earth, no longer hiding its true capabilities, had become the beating heart of this new galactic order. On the newly constructed space station Unity, orbiting a neutral star at the center of Confederation space, representatives from every member species gathered for a historic summit. The station itself was a marvel of cooperation. Its quantum computers were of Volrich's design. Its hull incorporated Drekthar crystal lattices, and at its core pulsed a human-made antimatter reactor. In the Grand Assembly Hall, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood at the podium, surveying the diverse gathering before her. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions filled the chamber, their attention focused on the human who had become the face of galactic diplomacy. Friends, allies, fellow sentients, Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the advanced acoustic system. A year ago, we faced extinction at the hands of the cracks. Today, we stand united, stronger than ever before. But our work is far from over. She gestured, and a holographic display sprang to life above the assembly, showing the known galaxy and the vast, unexplored regions beyond. The cracks' threat opened our eyes to a fundamental truth. We are not alone in this universe, and not all we encounter will be friendly. It is our duty, as the torchbearers of civilization in this arm of the galaxy, to be prepared. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The Arkan Empress, her energy form pulsing with approval, spoke up. Earth has led us admirably through this crisis. What do you propose for our future, Ambassador? Elena smiled. Not Earth alone, your radiance. All of us together. Today, I propose the formation of the Galactic Exploration and Defense Initiative, a joint effort to push the boundaries of our knowledge, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to stand ready to defend our way of life. The assembly erupted in excited discussion. On a balcony overlooking the main floor, Admiral Sarah Chen leaned towards her brother, Captain David Chen. Sounds an awful lot like Starfleet, she murmured with a smirk. David chuckled. Well, those old sci-fi writers got some things right, though I doubt they imagined we'd be doing it with tentacled allies and living crystals at our side. Their banter was interrupted as Elena continued her speech. But exploration and defense are not our only goals. We must also look inward, to heal the wounds of our recent conflicts, and to build a society that truly represents the best of all our cultures. She outlined plans for massive engineering projects, terraforming barren worlds, constructing Dyson swarms to harness the power of stars, and creating a galaxy-spanning network of FTL communications relays. It was an ambitious vision, one that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. As the summit progressed, committees were formed, treaties were signed, and a new era of galactic cooperation was born. But not everyone was entirely comfortable with the pace of change. In a quiet corner of the station's arboretum, designed to accommodate plant life from 100 different worlds, Zexera, the Cracks defector, met with a small group of representatives from various species. The humans have proven themselves to be powerful allies, a Zorn delegate chittered nervously. But does anyone else worry that we're becoming too dependent on them? That we're losing our own identities in this rush to unity? Zexera's tentacles wave thoughtfully. I understand your concerns. The humans are intense in their approach. But remember, they hid their true nature for a century to avoid dominating others. I do not believe they seek to rule, but to elevate. A Drekthar crystalline being chimed in, its facets refracting the soft light of the Arboretum. Perhaps what we need is not to resist this change, but to fully embrace it, to challenge ourselves to match the humans' drive and creativity. Their discussion was interrupted by the arrival of Captain David Chen, who had been quietly observing from nearby. I couldn't help but overhear, he said, his tone apologetic but firm. And I think this is exactly the kind of dialogue we need. The group tensed slightly, but David held up a hand in a gesture of peace. Your concerns are valid, and they're shared by many humans as well. We don't want to dominate. We want to collaborate. To learn from you as much as you learned from us. He paused, looking out at the stars visible through the Arboretum's transparent dome. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our military might. It's our diversity, our ability to adapt and incorporate new ideas. And now we have the chance to do that on a galactic scale. The small gathering fell into thoughtful silence, contemplating David's words. Finally, Zexera spoke. Then perhaps that is the true challenge that lies ahead. Not just exploring the unknown reaches of space, but exploring the depths of our combined potential. As if on cue, a soft chime echoed through the station, calling the representatives back to the main assembly. The next phase of the summit was about to begin. A collaborative session to design the first of the new joint exploration vessels. As they made their way back, David found himself walking alongside Zexera. The crack's defector's bioluminescent patches pulsed with a pattern that David had learned to recognize as curiosity. Tell me, Captain, Zexera asked, when your people were hiding their true nature all those years, did you ever imagine it would lead to this? David smiled, his eyes distant with memory. Honestly, no. We prepared for war, hoping it would never come. We never dared to dream of this. He gestured broadly, encompassing the station, the assembled races, the entire new galactic order. But now that we're here, I can't imagine a better outcome. They entered the assembly hall just as Elena was concluding her closing remarks. And so, as we stand on the brink of a new age of exploration and cooperation, let us remember the lessons of our recent trials. United, we are stronger than any threat. United, we can achieve wonders beyond imagination. The silent guardians have found their voice, and it calls us all to a greater destiny among the stars. As applause filled the chamber, David felt a surge of pride and hope. The challenges ahead were many, integrating vastly different cultures and technologies, exploring the unknown dangers of deep space, and always staying vigilant against threats both external and internal. But for the first time in galactic history, it felt like they were all in it together. The silent guardians had stepped out of the shadows, but they hadn't simply taken charge. Instead, they had become the catalyst for a transformation that touched every species, every world. As the assembly broke into excited discussion of the plans ahead, David knew that the greatest adventure, for humanity, and for all sentient life in the galaxy, was just beginning. In the vast tapestry of the cosmos, a new pattern was emerging. Countless civilizations, each unique and valuable, weaving together into something greater than the sum of its parts. And at the heart of it all, the humans, no longer silent, no longer hiding, but leading the way towards a future bright with the light of 1 billion stars. The silent guardians had found their true purpose, not in war, but in fostering peace, progress, and unity across the galaxy. As the first joint exploration vessel prepared to launch, carrying a crew composed of multiple species, it bore a simple yet powerful motto etched into its hull. Ad astra simul, to the stars, together.